they would have weekly meetings that ended up they started having twice weekly meetings because they weren't getting through everything. And everyone would come along to the meeting and they'd say, oh, I've got this problem. And then we'd go around the table, and there was about 8 or 9 people around the table, and they all had an opinion on the problem and solving it. And so the whole meeting ended up in a massive bum fight about this problem. And they worked out, and more often than not, the problem wasn't solved. And then one day he said to the staff, we don't want to talk about problems at these meetings, we want to talk about growth and development. He said, so what I want you to do is bring the problems along to the meeting, but also bring along 3 solutions. And then the meeting can talk about the solutions and not talk about the problem, and we can decide on a solution. Now, the fascinating thing that happened the very next week, and this absolutely fascinated me, the very next week people came along and they didn't have problems. One solution became obvious and it stood out above the rest, but they had worked it out, and so it didn't need to go to a meeting. And that changed that whole business around, that all of a sudden these meetings, and they went back to 1 a week, and they went back from 2 and 3 hour meetings on a Monday morning to 1 hour meetings. It actually switched everything around simply by saying come up with the problems. And one of the things I think happened out of that was that the people that had the problem, sometimes it was that they weren't confident enough to make the decision on what was the best solution. And when they were faced with having 3 solutions, one became so obvious that they felt comfortable in making that. One of the ways that you can solve that is the person that's got the problem is more often than not the best person to solve it, because they know the intricacies of why the problem's there. And everyone else will have an opinion, but they'll have an opinion on the basis on the way they would handle it. But it's not their problem.